The crash happened on a rainy Tuesday night. Madison still remembered the phone call, how the officer's voice had shifted the ground beneath her feet. Her parents were driving home from their anniversary dinner when a drunk driver ran a red light and hit them head-on. They didn't make it. Everything after that was a blur of funeral arrangements, condolences, and legal paperwork. Madison, the eldest child, was named executor of the will. The family home, a beautiful colonial-style house with white shutters and a wraparound porch, was left to her, along with 2 rental properties and the responsibility of preserving what her parents had built. Ryan, her younger brother, received the financial accounts, their parents' life savings, and retirement funds. At the time, the division made perfect sense. Madison was a real estate investor. Ryan had no interest in property. Everyone agreed. But no one could have predicted what grief would do to Ryan. He stopped going to work, stopped returning calls, stopped showing up for life. The once vibrant, creative graphic designer became a ghost in his own skin. So Madison made a decision. One rainy afternoon over lukewarm coffee at a diner near the cemetery, she reached across the table and said softly, "The house is just sitting empty. You can move in. No rent, no timeline. Just breathe." Ryan's eyes welled up. He nodded, almost ashamed. "You sure?" he whispered. "Positive," Madison smiled. "Mom and Dad would have wanted this." And just like that, she gave him a second chance. A roof, a place to heal, and, unknowingly, a battleground that hadn't revealed itself yet. 3 months after moving into the family home, Ryan called Madison with a voice she hadn't heard in years, light, excited, almost. Alive again. "I met someone," he said. "Her name's Allison." He met her at a grief support group. She was soft-spoken, elegantly dressed, and claimed to have lost her husband in a workplace accident 2 years earlier. Madison wanted to be happy for him. God knows Ryan needed something, someone, to bring him back from the edge. But something didn't sit right. It was the way Allison spoke, just a little too smoothly. The way she laughed, but didn't really smile. And especially the way she looked at the house. Not with reverence, not with nostalgia, but with calculation. Like she was already rearranging furniture in her head. Within 3 months, Ryan announced they were getting married. "That's really fast," Madison had said, trying to hide her shock. "When you know," Ryan replied, like he was reciting a movie line. The wedding was small, just a courthouse ceremony and dinner afterward. Madison brought a check as a gift, a generous one. Allison took it without blinking, slid it into her designer purse, and never even said thank you. And as Madison watched Allison wrap her arm around Ryan's and laugh at something insincere, she felt it, a quiet chill, not of jealousy, but of instinct. Something isn't right, and my kindness might have opened the wrong door. Madison hadn't been to the house in a few weeks. Ryan had texted to say Allison wanted to host Sunday dinner. It was supposed to be a warm gesture, but when Madison opened the front door, she froze. The house didn't smell like home. No traces of Mom's lavender, no scent of Dad's old tobacco pipe, just a sterile cloud of scented candles, vanilla sandalwood, and something sharp underneath it all. And the living room, it was unrecognizable. Her mother's floral-patterned sofa was gone, replaced by a sleek, angular white couch that looked like it belonged in a fashion magazine. The wooden coffee table her father carved, gone. In its place, a glass-topped table with chrome legs, cold and soulless. The bookshelves, their father's pride, had vanished completely. And the wall, where decades of family photos once hung, now blank. Painted a cold shade of gallery gray. Not even a single frame remained. Madison stood in silence, staring. Ryan noticed her expression. "We've been redecorating," he said quickly. "Allison wanted to brighten the place up." Madison nodded slowly, swallowing the lump in her throat. It wasn't just a redesign. It was a cleansing, a quiet erasure. She looked down at the orchid she had brought as a housewarming gift, suddenly feeling stupid. This wasn't a home anymore. It was Allison's stage, and all the history that once lived in this room had been packed up or thrown away. Madison had always loved Sunday dinners. Ever since they were kids, it was the one ritual their parents insisted on. No phones, no distractions, just food and family. Tonight, it felt different. She arrived early, carrying a bottle of wine and a homemade peach cobbler baked with the same recipe their mom used. Allison opened the door wearing an apron that looked more like a costume than something you'd actually cook in. Her smile was tight, her eyes cooler than the wine bottle Madison brought. "Right on time," she said, then turned without offering to help with the bags. Inside, everything felt staged, too clean, too curated, like a set for a cooking show, not a family meal. As they sat down, Madison tried to bridge the awkwardness with light conversation, stories about their childhood, old family jokes. But every time she brought up the past, Allison would change the subject, her smile growing more strained. Then came dessert. Allison set down tiny portions of lemon tart onto spotless white plates and said, almost sweetly, "So, Madison, 33 and still no husband. Your biological clock must be loud by now." Silence. Even the fork in Madison's hand seemed to pause. Ryan looked down at his plate. He didn't laugh, he didn't defend his sister, he just said nothing. And that was louder than Allison's jab. Madison smiled politely, but her spine stiffened. "I'm happy," she said. "Marriage and motherhood aren't everyone's finish line." Allison laughed lightly, sipping her wine. "Sure, that's what women say until the mirror says something else." Madison looked at Ryan. Still no reaction, no protest. Just avoidance. That was the moment. The exact moment she realized Ryan wasn't just in love. He was being reshaped, quietly, piece by piece. It was supposed to be a quick stop. Madison needed an important folder, old tax documents she had stored in the home office back when it was still hers. She texted Ryan early that morning. "Hey, I'll swing by around 11 to grab those files. Should only take a minute." No reply. But that wasn't unusual. Ryan had become harder to reach lately. At exactly 11:07, Madison pulled into the driveway, walked up to the front door, and slipped her key into the lock. It didn't turn. She tried again, slowly, gently, still stuck. Madison stepped back, staring at the door like it had betrayed her. This was her key to her house. She tried the side door, same result. The back door, still nothing. Then finally her phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. "Hey, sorry, Allison had the locks changed last week. She says we need more privacy now that we're married." Madison just stared at the message. No warning, no heads up, just locked out of the home she grew up in. She sat down on the front steps, folderless, and suddenly very cold, even under the bright morning sun. The silence of the neighborhood pressed in. Birds chirped, a sprinkler clicked on somewhere nearby, and Madison realized she had just become a stranger on her own doorstep. It started with a lamp. Madison had trouble sleeping that night. The new locks were still bothering her. The silence from Ryan, even more. Out of habit, she picked up her phone and opened a local online marketplace app, something she often used for her real estate side projects. And there it was. Authentic Tiffany-style lamp, $800, excellent condition. She froze. That lamp wasn't just any lamp. It was her mother's, a wedding gift from her mother. It had sat in the corner of the family living room for over 30 years. She knew the shade, she knew the curve of the base, she knew the tiny chip near the edge because she caused it when she was 8 and never told anyone. It was the lamp. Madison clicked the seller's profile. No profile picture, just the name, @HomeRefresh_Midtown. She opened the listings. Her stomach dropped. Dad's vintage record player, $300. Mom's silver serving tray set, $120. First edition mystery novels, full set, $950. Oil painting from 1987, no damage, professionally cleaned. Item after item, piece after piece, memory after memory. For sale, to strangers, with prices and hashtags like hashtag vintage vibes and hashtag mid-century chic. She couldn't breathe. This wasn't decluttering. This wasn't redecorating. This was liquidating her family. It happened fast, too fast. Madison showed up at the house unannounced, but not uninvited, at least not in her mind. She had tried being patient, tried texting, calling, but Ryan kept canceling, avoiding, and she was tired of chasing scraps of her own family's legacy. So she went to the house on Sunday like she used to, with a peace offering, her mom's famous apple pie still warm from the oven. The music was on inside. Laughter, a party. She knocked. No answer. She knocked again. The door opened a crack, just enough for Allison's face to appear, eyes narrowed. "Madison," she said flatly. "This isn't a good time." "I won't stay long," Madison replied calmly. "Just wanted to drop this off." She held up the pie. "It's Sunday," Allison sighed dramatically. "Wait here." 10 minutes passed. Then Ryan appeared, stepping outside with an uneasy look on his face. "Hey, now's not great," he said. "We've got guests." "Ryan," Madison whispered, "it's Sunday. I haven't seen you in weeks." Before he could answer, the door flung open again. Allison stormed out. "This is exactly what I was talking about," she shouted. "You show up uninvited, you barge into our lives like you still matter here." Madison's eyes narrowed. "I grew up in that house, Allison." "Correction," Allison snapped. "You used to, but now you're just a pathetic 40-year-old parasite still clinging to a house you don't belong in." A glass shattered. Allison had thrown it at the ground. "Get out, Madison," she screamed. "Get out and stay out." Madison stood completely still. And then she laughed. A quiet, disbelieving, almost broken laugh at first, then louder. Allison froze. "You think this is funny?" she hissed. Madison wiped a tear from her cheek. From laughter or pain, it wasn't clear. "No," she said. "I just can't wait to see your face when I show you who really owns this house." Madison didn't raise her voice. She didn't flinch. She didn't even blink. While Allison screamed and shattered another glass behind her, Madison calmly reached into her purse and pulled out a crisp manila folder. She placed it gently on the coffee table, opened it. Inside, copies of the deed, tax receipts, and a notarized excerpt of their parents' will, all with her name on it. "This house," she said softly, "is legally mine." Allison stopped mid-rant. Her face contorted, rage mixed with disbelief. "You're lying," she snapped. "Ryan inherited this house." Madison didn't reply. She just pointed to the documents. "Ryan inherited their financial assets," she said. "I got the house." Allison stared at the papers like they were a foreign language. Then she grabbed her phone. "Fine, I'm calling the police." "Go ahead," Madison replied. Calm, steady. I'd love to see their reaction. 20 minutes later, 2 police officers arrived. One older, calm, one younger, watchful. Allison launched into her version of events. Tears, drama, claims of harassment, and threats. But the officers asked for proof. Madison handed them the folder without saying a word. They scanned the pages, nodded, then turned to Allison. "Ma'am," the senior officer said, "this property is registered under Miss Madison Reynolds." Allison's face cracked. She turned to Ryan. "You told me this was your house." Ryan looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. "I didn't correct you," he mumbled. Allison snapped. She grabbed a porcelain vase off the shelf and threw it against the wall. It exploded into shards. "You lied to me, you pathetic little man living in your sister's house pretending to have something." "Ma'am," the officer warned, stepping forward. "Calm down or we'll have to detain you." But Allison was gone into her rage. She ripped a wedding photo off the wall and tore it in half. "This is what I get for believing in you." Ryan said nothing, not a word, not a whisper. Madison stood in the eye of the storm and watched the illusion finally collapse. The guest room smelled like lavender and lemon oil. Ryan sat at the edge of the bed, shoulders slumped, hands buried in his face. He hadn't said a word in hours. Madison brought him tea. She didn't sit right away, just waited. Quiet. Finally, he spoke. "I don't know who I am anymore." His voice cracked mid-sentence. He looked like a child, broken, exhausted, lost. Madison sat beside him, not too close, just near enough. "That's how emotional abuse works," she said gently. "It erases you until all you hear is them." Ryan looked at her hollow-eyed. She said, "My friends were bad influences. She blocked numbers when I wasn't looking, changed my passwords for security. I thought it was love." Madison nodded slowly. "That's not love, Ryan. That's isolation." He let out a breath that was more sob than sigh. She said her first husband died in a construction accident, that she was all alone until... Madison hesitated. "I looked into that," she said carefully. "Her husband is still alive. They divorced 6 years ago. Restraining order. He lives 2 towns over." Silence. Ryan's hands shook. She lied about everything. Yes, the weight of it crushed him. Years of gaslighting, subtle rewiring, emotional erosion, it all flooded back in a wave he wasn't ready for. Madison placed a hand on his back. "But you're here now, and you're safe. That's where it starts." The guest room was quiet, too quiet, the kind of quiet that follows a storm, or the silence right before someone breaks. Ryan sat at the old desk, hands trembling slightly as he opened a new notebook. The pages were crisp, untouched. He uncapped a pen, stared at the first page for a long time. Then, in messy, uneven letters, he wrote, "Things I lost because of Allison." He paused, as if writing it down made it more real. Page 1 began. Each sentence was a small confession, a scar written in ink. "I lost my guitar. She said it reminded me of the man I used to be. She called it a distraction. I gave it away. I lost my job. She said she'd handle some emails while I rested. The next day, my clients ghosted me. 2 weeks later, I found out she sent them a message that I was no longer available for freelance. I lost Jonah, my best friend since high school. She said he had a crush on me, said he was manipulating me. She blocked his number. I didn't even know until months later. I lost my Sunday mornings, my walks, my coffee runs, my sketchbook moments in the park. She said they were a waste of time. She needed me at home, just in case she felt lonely. I lost my passwords, every email, every account. She helped me secure them, but somehow I was always locked out, and she wasn't. I lost the photo album Mom gave me when I turned 18, the one with the beach trip, the tent, the cake on the porch. I asked about it once. She said I must have misplaced it. I lost my voice. I stopped speaking in arguments. I stopped arguing at all. I lost sleep. Because even when she wasn't yelling, I could hear her in my head. I lost myself." He sat there, staring at that last line. Then, slowly, Ryan reached for a red pen and underlined it, twice. The red ink bled through the page, just like the damage in his heart had bled through his life. He turned the page, started again. Page 2. "I stopped dressing like myself. She said color made me look immature. She picked out my clothes, gray, black, navy, even my socks. I lost my laugh, because I forgot what joy felt like. I lost on family's chess set, grandpa's. Gone from the shelf. No one ever mentioned it. I lost birthdays. She didn't believe in celebrating them. She said I didn't deserve attention. It was 8:42 p.m. The porch light flickered, once, then again. Madison looked up from the tea kettle. Ryan stood frozen by the window. Then bang, bang, bang! The front door shook like it had been punched by a storm. Allison Ryan whispered, already knowing the answer. Through the frosted glass, a silhouette, wild hair, clenched fists, and chaos in her eyes. Allison, no! Don't. Too late. Allison, I'm not letting you in, Madison called out firmly from the kitchen. But Allison was already screaming. Ryan, open this door. You don't see it, do you? She's controlling you. She's always been jealous. She doesn't want you happy. Ryan walked slowly to the door. He didn't open it. He just stood there, breathing. Then, calmly, too calmly, he said, Allison, no one's controlling me anymore. Not her, not you. There was silence. You think you're better off now? Allison shrieked, voice cracking. You're pathetic without me. She's twisted your mind. Ryan swallowed hard. His voice wavered, only for a second. She didn't twist anything. She saved what was left. Allison slammed her palm against the door again. You're choosing her over me. Ryan's hand clenched into a fist by his side, then released. I'm choosing me. Allison stared at the door, breathing hard. Then she said quietly, almost a whisper, You'll regret this. Madison stepped forward. He already regrets the years he lost. That's enough. Allison stood there for a few more seconds, then turned, walked off into the night. The porch light flickered one last time and went still. That was the last time Ryan saw her. Not in court, not in therapy, not even in memory, not the same way. She had come like a storm. She left like smoke. And all that remained was the echo of a door that never opened again. A week after Allison's meltdown, Madison sat in a lawyer's office across from a man in a gray suit named Garrett Hale. You're not going to like this, Garrett, said, flipping open a folder. Inside were documents. Lots of them. Court filings, police records, property receipts. Ryan sat beside Madison, his jaw tightened with every page. Allison Monroe Garrett continued, isn't just a widow. She's a professional manipulator. Page 1. Restraining order, filed by ex-husband #1, citing emotional abuse and financial control. Page 2. Marriage license to ex-husband #2, filed 5 years ago. No record of his death, no obituary, no funeral. Page 3. Second restraining order. From a woman named Margaret, his sister, filed after Allison allegedly tried to gain access to family heirlooms. She lied about everything Ryan whispered. Garrett nodded grimly. And there's more. Madison leaned forward. She's been selling heirlooms under fake accounts. One of our PIs traced the listings linked to a storage unit under her name in the next town over. 3 hours later, with the help of a court order, Madison and Ryan opened the dusty metal door to Unit 219B. Inside, the Tiffany lamp, her father's first edition books, jewelry boxed and labeled, photo albums covered in dust but safe, her mother's wedding veil rolled in tissue paper, even the tiny china figurine Madison thought had been lost forever. Ryan stood frozen, staring at a framed picture of their family. It was turned backward. She didn't just want the house, Madison murmured. She wanted to erase us. And that day, they took everything back. Not just the items, but the truth. The scent of fresh paint clung to the walls, clean, hopeful. It wasn't just color. It was closure. Madison stood barefoot in the hallway, holding a hammer and a black and white photo of their parents on their wedding day. Here, she asked. Ryan nodded. They hung the frame. Then another, and another, a photo of their childhood fort. Their mom in the garden, smiling with dirt on her cheek. Their dad asleep with a book on his chest. For the first time in months, the house felt warm again. That Sunday, they cooked dinner together, like old times. Ryan laughed over garlic bread. Madison teased him about nearly burning the roast. It wasn't perfect, but it was home. In the weeks that followed, Ryan signed a lease on a small studio downtown. He started sketching again, designing again, smiling again. He didn't need anyone to save him. He had saved himself. And Madison, she didn't hover anymore. She listened, she supported, but she didn't try to fix what wasn't hers to fix. She had learned through fire that helping someone doesn't mean carrying them. It means walking beside them until they can walk alone. That house, once a battlefield, became a sanctuary again. Not just of old memories, but of new beginnings. The evening air was still. Madison sat alone in the living room, barefoot, wrapped in a soft shawl. The walls now carried warmth, memory, and silence, the good kind. She reached for the small cabinet by the window. Inside, untouched for years, was her father's favorite bourbon, aged 18 years, amber like a setting sun. She poured just one glass, no ice, just as he liked it. And then she walked over to the old family photo, hung back in its rightful place right above the fireplace. She raised the glass gently and whispered, "We're okay now. We made it through." She took a slow sip. It burned, but only a little, just enough to remind her she was alive. They all were, still standing. In the glow of the room, one truth lingered. Sometimes real love isn't in sacrifice. It's in the quiet power of saying, "That's enough." Enough pain, enough pretending, enough losing yourself to save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Because boundaries don't mean giving up on love. They mean protecting it, and yourself. Sometimes, the hardest kind of love is knowing when to stop giving. We grow up thinking love means sacrifice, being there no matter what, fixing the broken, forgiving endlessly. But the truth, real love has boundaries. It says, "I'll walk beside you, but I won't carry you into the fire." Madison's story reminds us that helping isn't the same as saving, and saving someone shouldn't come at the cost of losing yourself. So if you've ever felt torn between loyalty and self-respect, between helping and enabling, remember this: love doesn't mean silence. Love means knowing when to say enough. If this story moved you, if you've ever had to choose between holding on and letting go, you're not alone. Subscribe to Whispers of Life for more real emotional stories that speak straight to the heart. Because sometimes the quietest stories carry the loudest truths.